Voices of Impact with Dr. E, the podcast that celebrates the leaders, innovators, and change makers shaping our world for the better. I'm your host, Dr. Eva Kleczek, healthcare executive, best-selling author, philanthropist, and advocate for empowerment and equity. Each month, I sit down with inspiring guests to explore their journeys, lessons, and the moments that define the true impact. Together, we'll uncover what it means to lead with purpose, create change, and elevate the voices that move us forward. Thank you for joining. I am so happy to be here in the 2026 New Year on January 3rd with someone that I admire dearly and someone that I have met through the wonderful network, Women Tech Network, that we both are very active in. Raina Srivastava is a tech executive in startup, and she has quite a journey and quite an experience. Her and I had a chance to work together during conferences and have interesting discussions and lead panels. And when I launched this podcast, I couldn't think of anyone better than Raina to join me and talk about her experiences, her journey, and the impact and her voice that she's giving to the tech startups. Raina, what a wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
And Eva, thank you for having me here. And might I start with congratulations on your new book, Empowered Leadership. It's been a very inspiring read. Um, we are both women leaders. We both have worked in many male-dominated industries, and it requires a special strength and persistence to keep going. So thank you for being the voice yourself for many of us women execs who are building and shaping new things every day.
Well, wonderful, Raina. Thank you so much. As we're going to be diving in about your journey, maybe we start a little bit about your background. Would you mind telling your story, your brief story, where you came from, how you landed where you are right now, so viewers, our listeners, can get to know you a little bit better?
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope this is an interesting episode for you. It is always interesting for us to share journeys and see what is most interesting for our listeners. My path into tech was not about chasing a specific industry or a role. What I reflect on is that I've always been drawn to emerging ideas, moments of change, especially when technology creates complexity and that real people still need to navigate this. I have worked in mobile payments, I have worked in tokenization, now I'm in Gen AI, and that has been the common thread for me all throughout emerging ideas. Early on, I also realized that I enjoy building systems. And whenever something is technical, I want to make it human first, I want to make it practical. And that's what got me into large organizations like eBay, Wells Fargo, American Express, Pfizer, and then now startups. Because it's not the technology, but it's the challenge of making it usable, coherent, and valuable to anyone who uses it, regardless of the user, regardless of the industry.
I think that's a wonderful background. Thank you so much, Raina. For many of the women listening here, I hope you get inspired by her story and everything that she went through. So, Raina, maybe let's start a little bit about exploring why did you choose to be in technology? Were you always interested from your young years to do so, or did it just come in as accidentally? Like for some of us, we land in our careers accidentally and then play around it from there and go through the journey as we go through.
For me, Eva, it was always about learning and growing with new
Mhm.
ideas. And tech offered that. So if I go back to thinking about what has always drawn me across my different roles, across different organizations, it's the ability to build something new, whether it's systems, whether it's teams, whether it's initiatives. And emerging ideas, emerging tech, and then translating that into being human first, tech was the perfect place for me to do that.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I think we all relate to the fact there's a lot of discussion right now happening, the application of AI and the role of a human and the human in the loop component of making sure that the models don't drift, they are reliable, and they also are explainable. So I 100% agree. But before we dive into more about AI and how you're applying AI, maybe we talk a little bit about some of your mentors or role models that you worked with or you've had throughout your career that really inspired you in your journey and then moving into AI and innovation in tech.
Sure, sure. So, one thing that I have always been drawn towards is that good ideas can easily get lost when systems aren't clear. So, you could have smart people, you could have strong tools, and you could still have fragmented outcomes, which then multiplies when organizations are across products, across regions, global even.
Mhm.
So the people who influenced me most there weren't necessarily the ones who had the loudest voices. They could simplify complexity, they could make decisions under uncertainty, and they could adapt without panicking when things
Mhm.
changed. I, as part of building, have been part of many war rooms, and having a leader as a role model who could basically be that voice of calm, that is what I consciously try to bring in to every interaction that I am in. Things will shift, especially right now. Very quick competitive moves, very rapid changes in technology. It feels like a new AI model comes in almost every
Every
month.
day, yeah.
So, the three things that I um, picked and absorbed from the people around me was that A, simplify, two, make decisions under imperfect conditions,
Mm.
and three, adapt without panicking when things changed. And that really drove me to creating systems that help teams find better answers over time because the answers aren't always obvious.
Wow, that's quite powerful, and especially in the today's era, we all know that it is not the IQ, it is not the EQ, but it's the AQ now that is driving where we are, meaning the adaptability, the ability to pivot very quickly. And with
Mhm.
AI coming on board, adaptability has been the primary skill that I think most of the employers right now look in individuals because you have to pivot very quickly. And to your point that you made, make decisions with very little information and trust that our intuition, our experience, our expertise are driving us in the right way. So very, very powerful. Thank you so much for bringing this in.
Of course.
So let's maybe just pivot and talk a little bit about the startup. I know that you have been a head of marketing at a startup, as well as you are a founder and principal of Aurix AI. Would you mind talking a little bit about some of what drove you to start up your own startup, but also joining? What it is that you are looking, where is the impact that you are hoping to make, and how does it really build for you the next step in your career?
So for me, the common thread, of course, is AI.
Mhm.
And AI showed up gradually for me, Eva. It wasn't one single aha moment, that now I'm an AI person. Um, Over time, what I realized was that teams were using it to move faster. And that is where all the AI slop, etc., comes in, but without necessarily thinking more clearly. So for me, it became obvious that AI isn't just a technology shift, it's a systems challenge. So the question was not that we can use AI. If you can prompt, you can use AI. But do we have the judgment and the structure to use it well? And that was the common thread across my startup work, addressing and building systems that can happen at scale, especially as things move faster. So, whether it's content, whether it's GTM, whether it's just internal executive alignment, the problem is typically the same:
Mm,
output increasing, but coherence and the underlying systems not keeping up. So,
yeah.
my work has focused on building systems, frameworks, ways of thinking that help teams maintain clarity as they grow. And that is my number one way of contributing to any team or any company, that I am building structures that help teams maintain clarity, excellence, and revenue as they are growing.
Well, absolutely wonderful. That's exactly what I think what is very important in today's environment, especially. Not only that we have to be adaptable, but we need to make sure that the systems are flexible enough to move the organizations forward and can quickly pivot as well themselves as the technology is changing. Um, as you're thinking about your journey,
Hmm.
are there any particular milestones that stood out for you that shape you or maybe turn a little bit of the direction in your career? We already know that AI wasn't always forefront, which I think for many of us has not been. It's really since COVID that we all are talking much more in the application of it. But was there anything else that that you remember or you think that helped you with turning your career to the point where you ultimately are right now and shaping the industry the way you envision and helping the organizations?
I am inherently an impatient person. So, for me, one of the hardest challenges is accepting that clarity doesn't come all at once.
Mm,
So early on, you're often building while you're learning, and sometimes you're revising assumptions very fast because something in the broader industry has changed. So for me, one of the main things of partnering with AI is that I've learned that progress comes from iteration,
mhm.
and it's not a one shot and it's done. I continuously iterate and I continuously learn. And I think that is critical, especially in fast moving spaces like AI. What you need is not a replacement, but an amplifier. So for me, the challenge and now the strength is that it's not automating my judgment, but it's freeing up my capacity for higher quality decisions and for setting up frameworks to make those decisions and to scale them and replicate them in the future.
Wow, that's extremely powerful, and I do wanna agree with you on one point. Continuous learning is the only way we can all stay current, and even then, it's very difficult to be current. So we have to be mindful how we are, where we are, what we are acquiring knowledge for, how we are applying it, and also knowing, to your point, clarity doesn't come in all at once. It really comes in phases, and sometimes we'll have to say we took the wrong turn, which is part of clarity as well. I really love your answer. So as we are thinking about clarity, as we are thinking innovation, maybe let's turn a little bit more now to the emerging trends in AI and tech that really excites you. Would you mind
Mhm.
talking from your perspective, what it is that truly inspires you in AI and the innovation right now that you talk about or you want to install in others or have others think about as they're thinking about their progress?
So for me, Eva, the emerging trends in AI are very aligned with how my own personal turning points have been. So
Mm,
for me, the moments where I shifted from building one off solutions to building full GTM systems that could adapt and that could
mhm.
replace multiple weeks and tools of thinking, that change in mindset was what made everything more resilient, scalable, and forward facing for me. And that's how I see AI being applied as well. It's not faster generation. I think we've all tried it, and the narrative a couple of years ago was every creative person is going to be replaced because
Mhm.
AI is now in the picture. That's not true.
Mhm.
And that is actually more about how AI is reshaping how we discover information, how we get ourselves trusted by customers. One of the big topics right now is answer engine optimization. And finally, the way that we come across to our customers is how we should have come across all along. The trend now is towards trust,
Mhm.
authenticity. It's about clarity. It's
Mhm.
about matching customers where they are. It is not about stuffing keywords. It's not about optimizing algorithms. So that is what really excites me, that we are moving from search rankings and volume towards actual retrieval and relevance. And overall, that changes how teams think. Now we're thinking about impact. We're thinking
Mhm.
about the right content. We're thinking about how we communicate to our customers. And that is one of the biggest benefits of AI search versus SEO search, which applies literally to every function, team, company, industry. It's how do we show up, not just what we do to show up.
I couldn't say it better myself. I 100% agree. Is how we show up. And there is a lot of talk about us, all of us bringing brand, right? We all have our digital lives, and we all live it, and thinking about how do we be authentic. So not only people who meet us in person are understanding who we are, but there's also our brand and our it's somewhat reflective as well. But we are all changing. Let's be honest, our brands are going to be continuously evolving. That's part of the persona changing, but I think it's very important. The other piece that I really love what you mentioned, and last weekend I was on a podcast for New Year's. We were talking about setting goals, and one of the psychologists on that call said it's imagination that helps us with showing up and dreaming and becoming who we want to become. And I think the creativity component, that imagination that he was referencing, it's the part where AI is going to have a harder time to match us. So it's really thinking about how our creativity can be leveraged to move companies, to help our clients, to create the content and really create the trust as well. Because we all know when AI writes something, it's very clear, although it has become much better knowing our personalities. But it's definitely the creativity that humans bring in and the imagination that we all have that helps with presenting our thoughts as well as then executing the way we would like while leveraging AI tools. So thank you for that.
Of course, partnership, not replacement. That's how I think about it.
That's a wonderful to thinking about. So as we all know, AI, it's widely used across industries. There is still a little bit of a comments or thoughts about the ROI that is bringing in and how it's being leveraged in different sectors, in different industries. Um, But I wanted to ask you about your thoughts about ethical considerations in the industry that I am in healthcare. It is a big discussion on where is the accountability lying. What you as a AI innovator, how do you think about those components? Anything that you want to share, or are there any other challenges that you're thinking AI innovation is challenging us now with?
I think there are a couple of challenges. One is tool sprawl, which I think all of us are facing because new tools come out very frequently. But the way that I think about new tools is that I think about a problem that I'm trying to solve, and then I go and explore five, six, seven, eight tools to figure out what would be the right way.
Mm,
I recently built an entire system of what are the AI tools for each stage of going to market.
mm,
And
interesting.
the different stages, according to me, are number one, research, number two, internal coordination, collaboration, Number three, the activation. And number four, the feedback loop.
Hmm.
So rather than starting with what the AI tool should be, I think startups should focus more on understanding where AI can genuinely create leverage. So when
Hmm.
I thought about those four different stages, I thought about how can I use that to create leverage at each stage. So my objective is to design workflows where AI supports expediting and clear decision making without bias, with frameworks, not replacing that depth of thinking. That's one, the tool sprawl and how to mitigate that by thinking about the objectives first and tools second. And the second part is not misuse, but almost over reliance.
Hmm.
So when teams stop questioning outputs or they remove human oversight completely, that's when quality erodes, trust erodes. That's even when the AI slop problem can be um, taken out from that. So ethical AI, it starts with human first, and it starts with maintaining the human judgment in the loop. The HITL, human in the loop,
Hmm.
is one of the core principles of how enterprises, startups, and really anybody should be applying AI.
Absolutely. I'm with you, especially me being an executive in healthcare industry, healthcare analytics, operations. Human in the loop is extremely important, and not only to validate the models, but also make the inferences and validate the outcome, because you need to understand, first of all, what goes in, which models have been deployed, ensure that there is no drifts, whether it's data or the model drift, and
Mhm.
ultimately, is the outcome clinically viable? So I am 100% with you, and we hear more and more the human in the loop concept coming in as an important concept of ensuring that agentic AI, the agents, are working correctly, because it's one thing to deploy them and allowing them to run without any supervision, but the other is to actually understanding and interfering in points where we know where the divergence or the important decisions are being made, especially in certain more regulated industries. This is extremely important. And for those of you listening, um, human in the loop it's that's where a lot of the new jobs will be, understanding the context, the data, the modeling, and bringing the outcomes to the vision, and translating it what it really means, and make sure that everything jives together. So thank you so much for that. There's a lot of discussion on LinkedIn right now about these things, so I think it's a highly relevant component.
Mhm.
Reina, as we are thinking about aspiring entrepreneurs or technologists, especially women, you are a highly successful tech executive yourself. So, is there anything that you would recommend or suggest or advise to young women coming in these days to technology or thinking about creating their own startups?
For me, one of my main learnings has been that if you move fast without a system, you're going to create more work later.
Mm,
That's one. And two, the sheer speed at which AI can respond, it is almost a crutch to replace thinking because you feel, you can always redo this.
hmm.
But that is not the right way. I have found that if you design structures at scale, two things happen. One is, of course, you're building in, whether it's a custom GPT, whether it's a Claude project, whichever tool and method that you use, you are incorporating your best ideas and thoughts into a system before you start. And secondly, now, because of the speed that AI has brought in for you and your competitors, you cannot create something and then leave it for the next 6 to 12 months.
Mm.
You will need to update it pretty frequently. And that's where AI can really help. So I would say two things. Number one, Understand what are your frameworks, your structures, your ways of thinking, and then use that to build systems that both help you iterate as needed as well as give you the outputs that really align with what your foundation is. That is how you ensure quality, and that is how you ensure scalability as well. Right now, Eva, like we spoke about, adaptability and curiosity are critical, and the output of that adaptability and curiosity is scale and systems.
Very well said. I'm with you. I like your comment about curiosity. We don't talk about it very often, but it's really that creative side and the ability to continuously learn or pushing yourself to learn. Some people push more than others themselves to do that. If you listen to some of the podcasts or some of the briefs from um, the big tech executives, that's what they are saying. They are spending most of their time learning continuously. Their curiosity doesn't end, and that's what allows them then to spearhead yet another innovation, get another idea, and more importantly, they find inspiration in other industries. They don't necessarily focus only on the tech. They're trying to figure out what are the goals or what are the challenges that some of the other industries are facing and figure out how they can help with creating the next tool or the whatever technological innovation that can help. So I am with you, and especially to those of you who are young professionals listening here, never continue to stop learning because there's nothing more important right now than the curiosity, the learning, and ability to quickly pivot and to learn from whatever the journey is and not thinking too much about it. Get it, make the changes, and move forward. Raina, this has been a fascinating discussion. Um, as we are starting to wrap up, what is your vision for the future of your work or maybe your roles or future missions or visions that you have for yourself and the future endeavors? And how do you think AI is going to continue helping you in the journey?
What I'm most excited about, Eva, is the controlled scale and the precision that AI can bring, which we have previously not been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
My work, for example, has shifted from 80% execution to 80% strategy.
Mm.
And I can do that because I have set up my systems, my tools, my AI digital twin. I have set up multiple custom GPTs, multiple long running projects. It makes my life that much easier to be able to focus on what truly matters for my product. How do I build trust? How do I maintain relevance? I'm not just moving to create the biggest volume, and whatever that volume looks like in your function, whether it's product, whether it's engineering, whether it's marketing or sales. But it's about that control position, that scalable customization to truly stand out with clarity, with trust, with relevance for your customers.
Very well said. Thank you. Mhm. Go ahead. Okay, well, this has been a truly fascinating discussion. On a lighter note, as we are finishing up our podcast here, um, are there any books, podcasts, maybe famous authors or anyone or influencers that you like to read, like to look up, or like to listen to as you are thinking about where you are going or where you have a few minutes of spare time? Is there anything that you would want to share about who is truly inspiring you and some of the reading materials in your podcast that you are like, or maybe TV shows that you like to watch?
I am actually going to give a very AI
Okay.
centric answer. Um, I've done two things to make sure that I keep learning. One is I've created a custom GPT, and that is precisely to answer questions like these, Eva.
Mm-hmm.
I have 10 minutes. I've trained the GPT on what my ongoing interests, lists of things, podcasts, events, books, etc. is. And I'll just tell it, like, I have 10 minutes. Give me, quick insights from one of the podcasts that I've listed in, or one of the YouTube channels that I have put in the instructions. And that is my learning
Mm.
for that time. And it
Yep,
can be done anywhere. It can be
absolutely.
done on a dog walk. It can be done for a mini mental break. So for me, I've trained that GPT to meet me where I am when I have 10 minutes to learn, and the inputs get updated constantly. I might find some new information on a LinkedIn post. I might go to an event. I might go to a podcast. And I'm continually training that GPT to be in touch with my interests and to make sure that I'm getting the newest information from any of those areas that I'm interested in. So my answer is none of the above, but all of the above, um, because of the custom GPT that I use.
Well, that's a truly AI forward answer. So thank you so much. And I'm with you. I do similar things as well. I like creating my own tools so I can then see what is the learning, what are new articles coming in, because in today's world there's so much information flowing. So having some kind of quick way of skimming and then being able to say, oh, okay, I want to focus on this. It's very important. And it's very helpful to very quickly get as much information through as possible, because otherwise it's very difficult to think about the amount of data that is being produced for us to learn from.
Absolutely, all the time. So you need to make sure that your way of learning is fit to your needs.
Well, very, very well said. Well, this has been quite a wonderful discussion, Reina. Thank you so much. As we are wrapping up um, this podcast, this very exciting podcast, and very informative. Hopefully, our viewers got a lot of great information. Is there anything that you would like to share as a parting words to our listeners here?
The people who do well are the ones building systems that can learn, adapt, and stay human as things evolve. That's what I'm doing. I'm connecting dots and what I'm learning so my system stays current, and I'm doing that through regular reflection, synthesis, and building.
Well, thank you very much, Reina. On that very inspiring last sentence, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your guidance and your knowledge and sharing this with all of us and our listeners. If we're gonna be posting all of the information on for this podcast with Reina's information as well, you can find her on LinkedIn, and I will add her LinkedIn information. And hopefully, you found it inspiring, educational, and inspires you actually to think about how you can adapt AI, how you can leverage it to help you with your next step in your career, but also remembering that you are part of the system and the system relies on your intuition or your guidance and ultimately your imagination and creativity. Reina, thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate your time.
My pleasure, and thank you to the audience, all of us, each of you listening. We're all doing new things, fantastic things. Just keep going. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining another inspiring conversations on Voices of Impact with Dr. E. I'm Dr. Eva Kleczek, your host, and let's tune in next time. Thank you.